Alright, so obviously you expect the skate park to be one of the places where you're allowed to do the whole skateboarding thing, right? Well, somebody ended up sending me a story about how this crazy mom ended up taking a bunch of people's skateboards and trying to steal them and causing a bunch of chaos. I figured it'd make a great story time, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Get quiet now, laying low when you reach zone, piping down, making out, stack the bread.
Alright, so like I said, this story was sent in to me, and it was a Saturday morning, and obviously this person was at the skate park doing their thing. And if you've ever been to a skate park that's like at a busy park on a Saturday morning, it can be pretty packed. You've got a bunch of people that like really know what they're doing, you know, you got a bunch of little kids on razor scooters, you got a bunch of dudes on bikes. It just tends to be like everybody's there to get their, skating in on the weekend. So it can get pretty hectic, and at this particular park, there was a huge amount of like little kids of razor scooters on this particular day. And obviously the skaters were doing their best not to, to have many interactions. But little kids on razor scooters tend to not be paying very much attention. You know, they're just little kids at the end of the day, so they tend to kind of get in your way and whatnot. And even if you're trying to avoid getting in an accident, sometimes it happens. Well, there was this like grind box in the corner near the entrance, right? And I guess a bunch of people had been getting snaked all day by these little kids on razor scooters, and that's where all the skateboarders were kind of sitting, like on this grind box. And I guess one of the skateboarders had come up and said something along the lines of like, these damn little kids are really annoying, except he said another word that was pretty descriptive. He said these kids are fucking annoying, which all in all, probably unnecessary, but not the end of the world, if you're used to skating in an empty park and all of a sudden there's 80 kids on razor scooters that are getting in your way, yeah, it's probably a little bit annoying, Do you need to be saying it loudly in the skate park around the kids? Probably not, but I guess a mom ended up overhearing him because she came storming over all like, what did you just say? And, this dude was just not gonna back down in the moment, so he looked at the lady and said something along the lines of like, I said that your kids are really annoying. And the mom, in response, instead of being like, well, we all pay for this park, it's public property, you just have to deal with it, which would have been the good response, says, well, you're not allowed to be here anymore. And obviously the skateboarder at that point is like, what are you talking about? I'm not allowed to be here anymore. And the mom starts to go on this rant about how like the skate park was paid for by taxes and she pays taxes, but he probably doesn't pay taxes because anyone in the skate park's unemployed. So, if he's not paying taxes, he has no right to use it. And the skateboarder is kind of confused because it came out of nowhere, and he replies, he's like, well, I actually do have a job and I did last year, so I do pay taxes, so I guess I'm not leaving, And then he said something along the lines about how like this lady just needs to mind her own business because clearly she's too dumb to tell people to leave the skate park. And obviously he didn't need to say that either. It ticked off a little bit more of an argument, but at the same time I'd be calling somebody stupid too if they were like, you don't pay taxes. Little do they know I do. Either way, at that point, Super Karen here decides to take matters into her own hands, and she goes, that's it, you're done. And she grabs his skateboard and starts to leave, right? And a bunch of other skaters at that point kind of like block her, and they're like, whoa, you can't just take his skateboard and leave. Like, that's not how it works. And she goes off again about how, she pays taxes and the taxes are the reason that the skate park is here. And they're like, yeah, whatever, nobody cares. Even if that's true, you can't take his stuff. Like, if you pay taxes for the roads, you can't steal someone's car. And she just tries to push past them. And at that point, they don't want to be like pushing this lady because that just is not a good thing, right? You shouldn't want to like shove anybody. So they just move out of the way. So she's taking his skateboard and leaving, and another skater runs out and tries to grab the board back. Well, the soccer mom lady turns around and like swings the skateboard at the kid who was running to grab the board. And so he jumps back to dodge it, and when he jumps back, his skateboard goes flying. Well, the lady snipes that one up too. So now she's got two skateboards, and she's like making an escape towards the parking lot to get in her car. And at that point, the two people are like, I need my skateboard. And, for those of you that don't know, like a skateboard, if you got some nice trucks, a solid deck on there, a nice pair of wheels, they're $150, It's not like a car or anything, but it's definitely not something that you're just going to let somebody leave with. So those two guys start running out into the parking lot after her, and the soccer mom starts running. And obviously it's just chaos, so all the skaters go off to watch it, and the mom throws the 2 skateboards in her car and goes to leave. The only problem is, I guess this lady had forgot her kids, because she gets in the car, and then she rolls down the window a crack and starts screaming about how, like, she can't leave without her kids, she can't leave without her kids. And the skateboarders are there, and they're like, okay, fine, give us back our skateboards, you can't leave with our skateboards. And she's like, I'm gonna call the cops, you guys are threatening me. And they're like, we're not threatening you, just give us the skateboards. Like, no one's gonna prevent you from leaving or taking your kid, we just want our stuff back. And she's like, let my kids get in the car, let my kids get in the car. And these 2 like 8-year-old kids start to push through the crowd with their Razor scooters on, and they get in the back seat. And none of the skaters do anything to the kids. They don't take the Razor scooter, they don't like flick their helmet or anything, because it's not their fault that their mom decided to like steal their skateboards, right? Everybody's kind of aware that these kids have nothing to do with it. And so you would think that the mom would be like, okay, these kids let my, kids in the car and there's no issue. Clearly they don't want to hurt us at all. They just want their stuff back. I'll just give them the skateboards. The only reason they're even around the car is because the lady has their stuff. Well, she just starts trying to back out. And this is definitely stupid. Nobody should ever do this. But one of the guys whose skateboard has gotten grabbed at that point just launches himself onto the hood of the car and just grabs on, right? Like, in like a comedy movie when someone's on the hood and they're like, stop the car, that's basically what's happening. And he starts screaming, don't leave without my skateboard. Well, that freaks the mom out, obviously. I mean, whether or not she's in the right or wrong, you're going to be surprised when somebody jumps on the hood of your car. So she stomps on the gas, so she like flies out of the parking spot. Thank God nobody's behind her, but now she's going backwards, like with this guy on the hood, and he's like, give me my skateboard. And finally she stops and like the back door opens and one of the little kids throws the 2 skateboards out, right? Like, I guess at that point she just decided to send it. And at that point the guy gets off the hood of the car, right? And she just peels out of there. And obviously, like I said, the person who sent this into me had nothing to do with like jumping on the car. That was a really stupid idea. That's how you turn getting your skateboard taken into like a trip to the hospital. And even then, dude, like, I don't know, that just probably was not the best idea. Obviously the lady didn't have the right to take your stuff. I'm not gonna sit here and defend that. But at the same time, yeah, if someone's trying to leave the scene and you jump on their car, they're probably gonna slam on the gas and try to get away, and that's probably not a very good thing if you're hanging onto the hood of the car. So whatever, they grab their skateboards, and all the skateboarders start cheering as if that's like a great thing, as if that's a massive W. And as they're cheering, they turn around and like, it was one of those parks where people would play sports games on the weekend. That's why it was so crowded. And so obviously if there's a big congregation of people there, there's going to be like a cop or something nearby. And they turn around and the cop is literally standing there having watched this go down. Except the only problem is he didn't watch the entirety go down from the beginning of the skate park where the lady came in and they got in an argument and she took the skateboards. He just saw the ending of it. So obviously he's like, why were you jumping on the hood of the car? What's wrong with you? And they start explaining themselves and he's just having none of it, right? So the 2 people that were involved and got their skateboards taken are like going back and forth with this guy trying to explain that like, no, they weren't just jumping on some random car. Like, she had taken their skateboard, she wasn't giving it back. And thankfully after a while the cop like didn't necessarily believe them even though they were telling the truth, but the lady had just ran, so there was nothing they could really do. All 20 people that were watching the situation backed up the story because it was the truth, but you could tell by like the way he was talking to them, he just didn't believe it. Which, who can blame him? Like, let's put this in perspective. You're telling me some lady stole your skateboards, put them in their car, you guys let the kids get in the car, she tried to leave, you guys then jumped on the hood of the car and she threw your skateboards out the window. And they're like, yeah, it sounds a little bit out there, dude. I just don't understand why this lady thought taking the skateboards was gonna be a good idea. Like, I don't even think the I pay taxes, therefore I'm in charge of who uses the skate park thing is a good argument. It's pretty dumb. But it's especially dumb to be like, I'm gonna take your property because I pay public taxes. Like I said, technically your taxes help pay for the road. You can't take somebody's car. And even then, on top of that, getting mad at people for following you to try to get their stuff back. Like, why are you following me? Because you stole my stuff? Like, what do you think I was just gonna let you get in your car and leave? Obviously never jump on the hood of the car, and to be honest, it's probably a really bad idea to follow anyone stealing your stuff, but like, you didn't have to take their stuff. You could have just as easily gotten in the car car and left without anything if you would have just thrown the skateboards on the ground and walked away. For some reason, though, I feel like that's always what, people trying to get a one-up on people will do. Like, I've seen plenty of YouTube videos where someone will come out and try to take the skateboards, try to confiscate it because someone's skating on the country club trail and they don't think that they belong in the country club. It's like, all right, man, even if you think a skateboarder doesn't belong, first of all, the skate park is kind of where they belong. But on top of that, you just can't take people's stuff. As for, the kids who were like swearing about scooter kids and whatnot, obviously, if you do that, their mom's going to get mad at you. It just is what it is. There's no reason to be doing that at the skate park. Chances are mom's going to have an issue. You shouldn't do that. I'm not going to say that that was the best behavior. But yeah, I am going to step up and say that stealing their stuff in response isn't justified. Even if somebody says a naughty word, if you punch them in the face, you're still in more trouble for assault. Anyways, moral of the story, don't take people's stuff and definitely don't jump on cars. Like that is just a definite good way to get yourself in a bunch of trouble. They're really lucky the lady had left, because like if she would have started crying about how she got attacked by a bunch of skaters, they probably would have been SOL. There wouldn't have been much for them to do in that situation. But yeah, anyways, guys, I think that's gonna do it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. I know this one was short. I have a really long video coming next, so trust me, it's gonna be worth the wait. If you did enjoy, though, I would appreciate you taking a second to press the like button. Let me know in the comments section down below what you thought. And, of course, subscribe if you're new and turn on those notifications. If you really want to help me out, I'll put a link to the intro song down below, along with the link to my podcast, The Scuffed Cast. Or, of course, you could use code SCRUBBY at the G Fuel checkout. You get some of the best energy drink for gamers, and you can do that by using code SCRUBBY at the checkout for G Fuel, like I said. And last but not least, also in the description, you can find a link to the merch store. I would very much appreciate you going and getting some merch, not to be biased, but it's pretty cool. And yeah, on that note, guys, that'll do it. Don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot, and hopefully I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.